Burchett.
Present.
Ushashin.
We'll get to her if she arrives. All right, this is the time and place for public comments. Do we have any public comments? Don't see any. So moving along, we have the September 12, 2022 minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's 4-0 with 2 absent. Okay, Chris, Oceanair School, project tour.
So we'll be taking a project tour today, and as you know, the COC, we had the pleasure of going to Pacific Sky School the last couple of times. One of the big initiatives that we took on as we started with the bond was making sure that we could impact every one of the schools in the district. And so districts will do that in different ways, but one of the things that we did is we identified can we impact classrooms right away. And so Oceanair is one of the schools that's had a number of classrooms that have been modernized this year. And so we've put together a tour where we can go into probably 5 or 6 classrooms, so you can get a feel for some primary classrooms, some upper grade classrooms, and then on our way back here, we'll actually be able to walk through an art room where we've also started upgrading some of our STEAM Plus programs. So with that, I'd be happy to answer questions as we're going through, and we can also come back together and answer any questions at the end, but we can just jump right in.
In one stage, this school was full, and people who moved into the district or had to go to a different school for a while. Is that still the case now, or is it?
Here at Oceanair?
Yeah.
No, not right now. Oceanair has really leveled out, but Oceanair also is housing our Delmar Heights 4th through 6th grade students.
Yeah,
So we're sort of in the range of the high 600s, maybe right at 700 students. When I was assistant principal here, we were close to 800. So it really isn't to the capacity that it's hit, but it's pretty full right now with the 2 sets.
So we will have this way to the back, and we'll start off our first grade.
Chris, do you want to lock the door?
Yeah, and I'm wondering if we should have.
Why don't we have, is there a staff member that we can leave here?
Fuxiao comes, and that way we can bring it. Thank you.
Why don't we just have Michelle
Do you want me to
stand?
stay in case someone shows up late?
Well, Tiana's
Oh, she's here. I'll just stay too.
Okay, as long as we have somebody here to watch everybody's possessions.
Well, I'll be honest, at this point, I'm just impressed. Now people are telling me it's been this long.
Because of the variant has gotten far
Yeah.
enough along
I think
the
it-
vaccines, I
Yeah,
guess.
the R-Nauts, I think at like 28 or 30 or something. It's basically, if you breathe, you get exposure.
Well,
I have another interesting thing I want to ask you about. So, I feel like moms never get that. Meaning, like, every story I've heard is that the kids got like a cold.
so I was first.
Yeah.
As soon as I got back from the East Coast, I
Yeah.
the next day my wife was positive, and then they
Should be
that my
symptoms,
daughter
though.
was, and I was mildly sick for about 2 days on the temperature, and then I quite hardly had any symptoms.
Yeah. Vaccinated, like, moms, I feel, are the most protected, based on just anecdotal. Because everyone I talk to, my wife says, I don't think I even got it, even though I'm sure at this point, well, it's 98% of antivirals, so.
Well, I swear.
Yeah, you probably
That
did.
was but there were no tests.
Yeah.
They said, have you been overseas? I said,
Yeah.
"Yes."
Well, that's
They
part of the
told me
reason
to
the
test.
second one wasn't bad for you, right? Shots, you get exposure.
Let's talk about information overload.
I'm glad everybody's.
All right. So this is one of our first grade classrooms. When we come in, you can see that we've spent a lot of time on the furniture and the environment, but we've also made a point of doing the whiteboard walls that we see when we look at our work in ground up like Pacific Sky, taking advantage of getting new carpeting so that we can make sure that it's comfortable, because we want to make sure that our students, especially in the primary grades, but we see it all the way up to 6th grade, being elementary school, kids are on the floor. And so there's a variety of heights, abilities for kids to be on the floor to do work, comfortable seating as well. And you'll see some commonalities when we go through 1st through 6th grade, but you're also going to see that it's age appropriate when we think about the sizes and we think about the layouts of the classrooms. And you'll see the furniture change a little bit as you go up through the grade levels. Obviously, this is fairly easy to move around for teacher and students. And then the teacher will set up different spaces where she may obviously bring the kids together so that we can easily gather around and be able to teach from one of our touchscreen TVs, but also be able to have kids out into multiple layouts of a classroom depending on small group instruction, or having everybody work together on the same thing.
Did they know we're coming tonight? So they.
Yes, Carrie, who is our
Give him a little heads up.
It's beautiful.
Yes, it is.
and then we're going to go straight across the hallway and we'll move into a second grade classroom. So what we're going to try and do is take us first through the upper grades and then sort of see it grow as we go.
Is this second grade?
So this is second grade.
Yeah, my daughter's doing the same thing.
Oh, yeah. And you can see some of the common,
Yeah, because they must
Yeah.
do
My
this.
son bought it.
well, the standards are the same
On the
across
hill
the state, right? So
in
you'll see a lot of
Washington.
commonalities, but
We
you
think
also
it's a real
see
one.
some of the differences between classes. You also see that they're using all the space. And so, one thing that we've gotten feedback on is they really like the whiteboard because they can use it to write on, but then you also, if we're doing things like right now, they're obviously doing some work with immigration. They've got some thinking routines, and you can see where they're going to then stick up some of the stuff that's gone on there. But that stuff over on the left side may actually come down in a little bit while they're working on something else, and then you've got whiteboard again to be able to write on or use in another manner. And so it is definitely, you will see throughout the classrooms that the teachers take these spaces and make it both teacher and student. So you can see evidence of student thinking, you can see evidence of collaboration and kids working together throughout, from their work obviously in the thinking routine and immigration and social sciences over to all this work they're doing in math on the right hand side. And then you'll see some similarities where you think about how this furniture works. Well, some of these work really well to have kids be able to sit comfortably when they're in a group looking at something that's being projected on the screen, whether it's teacher or student driven. So some commonalities and then some things that they might do a little bit differently as you go grade to grade. And with that, we'll head down the hallway and check out third grade, and then we'll move on upstairs.
Very stimulating.
Yeah.
They've got to be awake.
Oh, yeah.
So right now, we're
Traveling?
in school on holidays.
We're here. We're hoping to go
It depends on the grade level, so
What about you?
we
Yeah, just around. Our 3-year-old has gone full
in the primary
teenager,
grade,
so we
and
can
20.
travel.
We try and keep it at 25, but we can go to
Fine.
26 or 27 in
Fun age.
some cases in
Yeah.
other grades.
Well, what was it? Was your 5-year-old that just had a
Yes.
birthday party?
See,
Yeah,
we're
yeah, yeah.
starting to try to use some of these.
If the jumping you sent
Yeah.
her over
Other
there,
spaces too.
everything, nobody got hurt.
Nobody got hurt.
Overload.
The cup was on at the time, so the adults had some fun.
This isn't too much different than the new design in a lot of ways.
No, this has a
Except
lot of-
it's less glass, I guess.
Yeah, and it has these bigger hallways. So that is something that we're looking at is how can we, make some impact on the hallway. So that it is a next step that we're looking at. Trying to impact the classroom first, but then there will be some work in some of the hallways over the spring and or into the summer of this year to try to see how we can make some of those more of a learning space.
But the immediate thing is like that.
Nice.
Make sure there's visibility.
They still have put it
That
up.
thing down on the floor.
Right?
Well, some kids-
That may be down the line if there's the money for it in the modernization. That would be a nice way to make these hallways a connection. So again, similar, when we look at these classrooms, they have a very much the same bones and very similar things in looking at making sure we have whiteboard wall space, making sure that we have some spaces like you'll notice the little runner here. This was really just a big long desk that really wasn't that well used. It was almost designed as a mini tech lab. So you had a bunch of data and power here where you could have had maybe 5 desktop computers. And so in 2007 that may have served a great purpose, but now that we have iPads or Chromebooks in the classroom, there isn't really much need for 5 or 6 desktop computers on the side. So things like that where as you look at 10, 15 years later, it's outlived its useful life trying to add some space. And this in each of these classrooms you've seen that kind of has that little nook. It makes a lot of sense to have touchscreen TV here, and then becomes a gathering space instead of a space that probably wasn't used a whole lot other than to just turn in papers. So you're seeing the furniture grow a little bit as we get up into 3rd grade, which is that weird transitional grade where is it the primary, is it the upper? And really seeing just a little bit of a change in your content as well as it gets up on the walls.
So you still teach cursive writing?
Yes, we do.
Cursive is still in 3rd grade, yeah.
Amazed. In the city, they don't teach cursive writing anymore at San Diego Unified.
Yeah, they've definitely moved. I think that the emphasis is probably not as strong as it was 15 or 20 years ago, but there still is some work in cursive too.
Yeah, no, I think it's important, and we think it's a loss if they don't teach it, but, I'm
It's
surprised
so
to see
interesting.
that.
Yeah, it's so interesting how the walls are just able to come alive when you make them. Obviously, you can see that they go all the way down to a child's level versus, you know, what used to be here, which wasn't nearly as user friendly. And this is, we would probably come in here tomorrow or the next day, and it would look very different on the walls because it literally is what the kids are learning about and thinking about at the time. So those kinds of things, you know, with the floor-to-ceiling whiteboards really make a difference.
And you can see that most likely is not the teacher's handwriting.
Yeah, oh, there's a variety of handwriting around here.
Which I think points to the fact that it's owned by the whole class too,
Right.
which is definitely something that's been a focus
Mhm.
across the district. All right, we're going to take a left and then head upstairs.
So how do you sign your name?
Or actually, no, we're going to take a right because you have to go to the doors that are all locked.
We don't have to sign by them?
My grandson, he just can't spell it, I mean, it's all.
Honestly, you need a DocuSign like that, right?
Yeah, that's true.
It's like these kids may not ever learn to drive because of these driving laws. Oh, there's some DNA on there. I hope it doesn't get to that. There'll probably be like blockchain / docs.
One is interesting how the school was like, well, we don't have cycle bars in our involved.
Yeah,
It's like the
exactly. It's like
coat
things like, right? It's like Star
My
Trek.
kids did not know how to get from one side of the school to the other school side on the other side of the school.
That's
Because they do
important.
everything.
Yeah.
Just still, I even
So even when they go to the lab, like everything is on the outside. Because I was like, oh, let's just cut through. And they're like, oh, I'm not sure if I know anything. I think because of COVID.
Interesting thing is,
That is
They got really, yeah, they got used to it. So they
right now we want. So I like that right here.
And that's still how I write.
I can write.
I can write. Yes, yeah.
I did public.
And it really is.
I can read cursive, but again, if I can print faster, cursive, I can do that.
My grandson's in 10th grade, cannot read cursive.
Can't read, can't write, cannot read.
I think it's such a mistake.
Well, I'm just, I can touch type all day. That is your.
Yeah, now
Be prepared, you're probably losing into that.
Oh, correct, yeah. Yeah.
Hiding.
I personally never made it into the Good Writers Club, but
Keyboard. I learned it for 2 years and then abandoned it.
So this is a 4th grade classroom.
the low desk is gone now.
The lower ones you see, you will still see upper grade kids getting down on the floor, but you also see a fair amount of kids wanting to be standing at, or I skateboarded when I was a kid, and this would have been like the coolest thing because it sort of has this little wobble to it, so it could allow you for the kid who's a little bit, just needs to be moving around, but you're not all over the place, and it sort of gives a little bit, so you definitely see kids who will gravitate to things like this. So looking at ways that we can also have kids be a little fidgety, be kids, but not be, hopefully not be distracting to others. So finding that balance so that everybody's able to learn in a manner that works for them. You definitely see students, solving word problems, solving problems on the wall here. You see, interestingly, kind of a similar thing with our TV, and then what we've called, it's sometimes sort of a campfire or a setup that allows you to kind of focus on one place, because you'll see, again, teachers presenting, for years now as we've integrated technology, especially in the upper grades, you're seeing students present, and you see that really going down to younger and younger grades, but giving a chance for us to kind of focus on that area. But it really is decentralized to a point where kids can work in multiple different spots, and then you can get it so you can have smaller groups, or you can get a bigger group of kids. And when you get into an upper grade, you might have a larger group that really wants to come together and collaborate and work on something. And so I think the exciting thing is when you come in here, you do see the kids move around. And so there isn't okay, I'm going to go to my seat, and it's this seat here, and all day long that's your seat. There really is a different spot. And as I've gone in, and kids have been in spaces like this, where it's really effective is they start to learn, how do I learn best? And so you'll hear kids, and they can actually think about their thinking and tell you how, what, when we're doing a collaborative thing, I know that I like to work here because I can get up and lean in and talk with my friends. I know that if I'm doing something quiet, I actually don't want to be right next to Rob because we don't work quietly very well together. And so they start to really think about where they like to learn. And I know I wasn't thinking about where I learned best when I was 10, 12 years old. I mean, I remember in college going in, I'd go to like the coffee shop, and it was horrible for me. But everybody's going there, so it felt like the right spot to go. And then I'd realize that I was just, nothing was sinking in, and I needed to get to the library. So there were things like that at 18, 20 years old, I was still figuring out, and we have 10-year-olds who are able to speak to me in a more thoughtful manner, which is really, really cool. So we're gonna head down the hall, we're gonna have 5th and 6th, and then we'll hit art and go back to even more.
So is there a certain section where Dahmer, how does that work?
No,
The sunglasses.
we've actually tried to keep our
Probably transition
Oh,
lenses.
a certain degree
Transition lenses.
in
Yeah.
somewhat
Oh, maybe.
similar age. So the upper grades,
Cool
as best we
kid.
could, we fit them in near the other upper grades. But
Yeah.
like there are
But they
these.
still only travel with.
They still are in Delmar Heights classes, but there are times where there's
I saw,
opportunities where they're kids, but yeah, there's still Delmar Heights teachers, like Delmar Heights classes that are.
But then intermixed in the classrooms are.
Yeah, so if I just look at the teachers here, I've got, those were 2 5th grade classes that were Heights, and then I have Ocean Air 4th, Ocean Air 4th, and it's this one, and then it's Ocean Air 5th, 4th. So 2 Heights 5th grade classes, and then some Ocean Air classes on this end, and then on this end I think we have a couple of Heights 6th grade classes, and then Ocean Air 5th and 6th grade classes. So it's
My daughter's in 4th grade at Heights, and she's in portable.
Oh, okay, so there's a little bit.
yeah, 4, we got a couple of those out there that are.
Portables. Those are odds.
No facts.
How is Kate?
She's doing good.
It's called
First day back in 2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
She had. She's fine.
So now we're in the 5th grade. This is the grade I taught, and it's pretty cool to see the layout in the classrooms. One of the things that I've seen kids just gravitate to and love are these bench seats. And sometimes they're spread out apart like this, and sometimes you have them set up almost like a diner, and it just really, there's something about, still kids. And so when we have elementary school kids, if you're with your friends, like you get 3 of us on here together, and we're all kind of in together working on things. Again, the variable height and the ability to sit or stand, which really stands out. It also, just from a health perspective, sitting all day we know is not the best thing for you, and so getting kids up and being able to stand for a little while, being able to sit, comfort is a part of it. I mean, we all kind of think back in those Verco hardback chairs that I've gone and sat and had conversations with teachers, and the bones in my back end up a little sore after a while. And so we really thought about, we want to make sure our kids are comfortable. You're going to learn better if you're feeling comfortable throughout the day too. So there is an element of making sure that it's a comfortable place for kids to learn throughout the day as well.
was talking to a sixth grade teacher. This is six, right?
Fifth grade.
Oh, this is,
Yep, we've got one more to go and we'll get to
so they were saying in the sixth grade it's hard because you've got some kids that are as tall as I am, and then you've got
That
some
was
kids
feedback from-
that are little, you know, so they were saying we can't have all
Yeah.
kids seating because in some of these older grades, whether fifth, sixth, whatever, mostly sixth, I
And
think.
actually, I take it back, sorry, because looking at the ancient
Yeah,
studies,
and
I
I
have to tell you, this probably, I thought it was fifth on my map, but this is definitely
I
a
think
sixth grade
it is,
classroom.
cause I can,
History,
and so
social
she
science.
had said that, she was saying, she's like, we can't have all little tables
Mhm.
because there are kids that are taller than the
Oh, yeah.
teachers too.
Yep.
So-
Yeah.
It is a spectrum, and
Yeah. and-
really fifth or sixth through middle school.
Exactly,
My son's an eighth
huge
grader, and yeah,
spectrum.
there's kids who are, yeah, it's
And the kids and the teachers love their classrooms. They really do. It's really great. Okay.
So we'll swing into one other upper grade classroom. This will bring us into a,
And this was done over the summer,
yes,
basically?
yeah. And what we've done, Ira, is we've done, say, anywhere from 20 to 40-ish classrooms each summer. So that we're trying to take care of, you know, a grade level or two grade levels across the district so that they all, and then making sure every site gets some impact too. Because Ocean Air would have been, by age, the last school we do, and then they're waiting 10 years before they have any impact, but this way all of our kids at all of our schools get impact before we get to the, roof modernization or those kind of things. Thanks.
Yeah.
And this is another sixth grade classroom. So you'll see some commonalities, you see some differences. And I think this is another nice thing is our teachers have been involved with our instructional services team and our M1F team in working through what is the right layout for their classroom. And so you'll see each classroom does not look exactly the same. And that's because our teachers are a part of the process. And our teachers are involved in staff development and training. And then you have instructional services working on it. And you have MONF and you have business services. It's really a district-wide project in getting these classrooms taken care of. And so I think that also brings some buy-in and some excitement from staff too when teachers are a part of the process. So another sixth grade, another different layout with our kind of diner set. And then sort of a different layout with what do they have for some of these high tables and how you might set something up for some of the collaboration in the center of the room. And just with the way it is, I guarantee you that this does not look just like this every day, all day. And so you can just tell that little ribbon probably changes at times where you want to, circle some people up. And this probably shifts around at times. And so it's, makes the room much more dynamic. When I was teaching, we had just those rectangular desks. We'd literally spend a time, and I'd have it on the agenda. Today in the afternoon, we are rearranging the classroom, and then I'd have to have a diagram for what is going to happen, and you'd have to have the kids move the things around because everybody had their own desk, and so it would literally take us half an hour to rearrange the classroom to be in somewhat similar of an organization, and you do it once a month. So it's pretty amazing to see how quickly we can do something with the classroom nowadays with the furniture we have in it as well.
We've done so many classrooms throughout the district now. It's been very exciting to see. Like Chris was saying, to not wait until, some magical year 20 years from now or 10, 15 years from now for a school to be touched. I think that's been one of the real strengths of the bond program.
All right, so one more that we want to get to, and it's actually on the way back. We're going to go through the art room because we have started doing some of our STEAM classrooms as well. Take a look at that.
It's a very specific holiday icon. My daughter, the lights we expect no much. Don't worry, I hear you. Yeah, no way. The portable in the back. It's the intro. Yeah. Oh yeah. Sense of ownership. Yeah. Well, they're my favorite. Just your 13 years, but I think what's in the center, that's just not out. I don't know, and that's where I grabbed it. We've been out, we all had COVID. Thanksgiving, for 10 days then. So it's been a little rough start this year. But, you like to see it.
Yeah.
It tells a lot about the school.
Yeah.
Its philosophy.
Yeah. Also, like how full it is, how empty it is. Yeah.
We gotta walk to the cold room
No.
together
I
because
think we can break
there's
it.
no, California winter.
Those clips are really less. This is all.
You look like Harrison Ford in a movie.
Oh, you should watch it. It's an oldie. Yeah, I know. It's a good, for the era, it was a good movie. A lot of cliches, good versus bad.
When I first got this jacket, we were still living in DC.
Yeah.
His phone there.
Yeah.
We moved out here, the movie was just, people asked if I had done the screenplay.
Yeah, exactly.
Such a difference between DC and America. Thank you.
And now we're in a hard surface.
Now we're on a hard surface. So when we look at our art and science rooms, they're the two areas that we have stuck with hard surfaces because as you can tell just by looking at the tables, yeah, carpet would not last very well in an art room. This had, I think, more of a linoleum, and it needed replacement. So rather than spending the money in new linoleum, we just took it off and cleaned it up and polished the concrete, and figured this will last for quite some time. And then worked with, again, instructional services and the whole team and our art teachers to look at what might be the right furniture to get into an art classroom so that it could cater to the work that they're doing with students. It requires even a little bit more flexibility because you have K through 6 coming through a STEAM classroom, so finding ways to make sure that it can meet the needs of kids across multiple grade levels. But it's been fantastic to see and have it in, again, kind of having more of a comfortable rather than just the utilitarian that sometimes you see in science and art where it's hard everywhere because we need to make sure we can clean it, but also trying to make a spot where it can be comfortable and fun. And you know, as you can see, we still have, you know, we put in a big trough sink because we needed more sink space. We've added, you know, there's still all the space to, you know, put your paintings and other things like that. We've done this school's art room, we've done Sycamore Ridge. I think those are the two arts that we've done, and we've done a couple of science classrooms as well. So we're starting to move into those STEAM spaces and looking at how we can take advantage of using some of those bond funds to upgrade our STEAM spaces as well. And another next step we're starting to look at then will be our library innovation spaces. And so we're starting to look at how we can continue to make improvements in those common learning spaces that all of our students at the school will get to experience and to get an impact from. So from there, we'll actually go right through here and we're back where we started.
All right, with that, we'll go to item F, the project and financial update. Chris and Mark.
So our project and financial update for this month. This is really the same slide that we've shared, but we'll keep this and we'll update it as we potentially sell more bonds, which won't be for a while at this point. So that gives an overview of the overall general obligation bond. And then as we've done last month, we'll do an update on each of our projects. And so our Del Mar Heights School rebuild, as we shared, we have ongoing litigation that stopped construction. We do have a court hearing scheduled for this Friday. And so we are hopeful that there will be an opportunity to lift the injunction and move forward with that project, and we'll continue to update the board, the public, and the COC when we have opportunities to. We have no real updates beyond that on this project, and really no changes in the imagery that we can share right there for now. For Pacific Sky School, we are really nearing the end, and so this is a project that we would anticipate total project completion likely in January, possibly February, and that's really coming down to just things like small punch list items and things that would lead to a final sign-off on this project. The campus opened on August 15th, Central Kitchen is really complete, and we're just at the point where we're doing those punch list items. We're down to just a few left, and so we are getting close to having a full completion of the project and having it, rather than in construction, as a completed project on our updates. So just a couple of pictures we added. We have the top left, the front of the school. In the top right, that's actually the kitchen and the sign at the front of the school. And then the bottom left is the Innovation Center, and bottom right is our kindergarten classrooms. Looking at the Del Mar Hills Academy modernization, we're currently in the design phase. We've selected Erickson Hall Construction Company to be our contractor for the project. We've also done 4 community planning meetings between the summer of 21 and the fall of 2022. Our most recent was in October. We have gotten staff and student input meetings throughout this process. We met with the staff just recently as well, and we'll be, it's actually Jen Dice will be sharing an update with the board this month. It is something that we, because it is an almost 50 years old school, it's taken a little bit longer to come to the final understanding of what we will need to do with DSA, some of the structural analysis, and some of the work we'll actually have to do to complete the modernization of the project. And at this point, this project will really likely be within the confines of Measure M, focused on the building itself. And so things that are outside of the building, like playgrounds and fields, will come from other fund sources as we look at trying to still make sure that some of these priorities for the school are taken care of. But because of some of the work we're having to do with the structural, it will end up being, for the Measure M oversight and Measure M project, it'll be mostly the interior of that school and then the roofing and other associated portions. We do have a couple of updated renderings as we look at ideas for the lobby and front entrance, and so we still are looking at how can we make that front entrance a little bit more clear. Where is the front? Where is the entry to the school? Raising some of the ceiling height in some of those bigger, more open spaces like the Innovation Center, lab area, the art, and really having that as part of the central hub of the school, much like it is right now, but getting STEAM and innovation in the center like it is now, and then making modernization updates to the classrooms around it. As we look at the modern learning environments, as you just saw, we are doing this district-wide. Each summer, we've pre-selected classrooms and modernized them. Our instructional services team has worked with teachers for professional learning so that they're a part of the understanding the process. And then we've done the installations, and so that's a process of there's pulling out certain old casework, like we talked about that desk that we don't need anymore. There's repainting, there's the whiteboard wall, there's the carpet, and then there's the furniture. And so it really puts those classrooms in a spot where beyond, Mark, you noted how the hallways are pretty wide, much like Pacific Sky. And so maybe there is a place where we are able to make a bit more of a connection between the classroom and the hallway, and that might be part of the full modernization. There wouldn't be much else you'd have to do in these classrooms. So really it reduces the overall footprint of the modernization on the school site and becomes more of the structural and those kind of things by the time we get to schools that are newer, like Ocean Air. And therefore the classrooms being impacted from the beginning, and our students and staff and community are feeling it from early on.
I think as a parent, one of my only concerns is that my child experiences a modernized classroom in 2nd grade, but then moves to 3rd grade, and it's something that they're maybe now going back to the older traditional. So I think that would be the only thing is I know you're, cherry picking and doing a great job picking those classrooms, but I would like to see once you're kind of in, then you get to experience that modern feel.
Definitely, and that's why our goal is to by 25, 26 have all of them, so we have that continuity. But I would also say that it isn't just furniture. So
right. We
are working with the staff, and so you don't really see the classroom that I had with the 6 desks that are all put together to make the space. You really see a lot more where you're going to have tables and other things, so that there is a little more flexibility. And so I feel like fortunately they're not going back in time to 2005 when they go into the classroom, but I totally hear where you're coming from, Sarah, and that's also why we're focusing on making sure that we can move through and get all of them done in a timely manner so it's not too long before we have that continuity throughout. So just a few pictures, actually, we're just in this room right here, in the art lab here at Ocean Air, and then a few other pictures of our students at work in some of our modernized classrooms. And then playground equipment, another thing that we know makes an impact to the students' day. I mean, our kids are out playing for an hour of their school day every day. You have the morning recess, you have lunch recess, and it's something that is memorable. When I talk to my kids in elementary school, the first thing they tell me about was lunch and recess. And so, and it's also a benefit for our community. So we've installed the playground at Sycamore Ridge the previous summer. Ashley Falls and Carmel Del Mar were done this past summer. And then Ocean Air, Sage Canyon, and Torrey Hills, we've just had a meeting on Friday looking at finalizing the renderings so that we can go out to bid and look at installing at hopefully all 3 of those this summer, but definitely over the next 2 summers, those schools will be taken care of. And then the Del Mar Hills Academy, we are working with having Erickson Hall on board as a construction company helps us to work with them and talking about when we start the modernization, what do you need for space to lay down equipment? What do you need for space that are you going to take up maybe part of the field so that we don't redo a field and then destroy it with construction equipment? And so we're looking at working with them as to when would, is it appropriate to redo a playground now or do we need to wait until the modernization? But Del Mar Hills will have their playgrounds taken care of. Likely not again with Measure M funds, but as an overall picture for the district, we're going to make sure that every playground gets replaced so that it impacts every one of our kids. And they've been very well received. These are taken kind of earlier in the morning, so your shade's kind of off to the side with them, but that midday sun with those big shades over them, it adds shade to the play area. This big slide here, the kids love it. They have it at Sycamore Ridge, they now have it at Ashley Falls, I think we have one at CDM, so that's been a huge hit. And there are a couple of swings, getting some swings in our upper grades, so they've definitely been well received, and it's been great to see the kids respond so positively to their new playgrounds. And then serveries, we actually walked by, I should have pointed out, but you probably noticed it as we first walked out, there was a servery on your right-hand side. That's where Ocean Air is serving meals. Actually, it's our largest lunch service in the district because we have both the upper grade Del Mar Heights and our Ocean Air students with the largest service in the district here. Installed at all of our school sites. Again, Pacific Sky and Del Mar Heights are going to be housed within the school because of the new build. But as we priced out and looked at making sure that we could serve the food, but also the cost it would take to create a brand new servery, putting these quick cafes has been hugely helpful and has helped us to be able to get off to a really successful universal meals program. Michelle, for all of your hard work with that as well. We are just thrilled to have seen them work out as well as they have. They've helped us to be able to serve so many meals as we've gotten here up and running. And then the final project that you'll actually see new to the numbers that Mark will share are security cameras. As we started security camera installations, it was part of the project at Pacific Sky. We are nearing completion at Carmel Del Mar and Sage Canyon, and we are then rolling through the remainder of our schools. So all of our schools should have security cameras installed throughout the course of this school year and well to the early part of the spring, so it won't be the end of the school year. So we're in the process of installing. The only thing that is taking time is procurement of security cameras. It's one of the things that's just taken a little bit of time for some of the equipment to get in time. But we are starting the install process. At our next meeting, we'll actually be able to bring you some pictures and have more of a detailed list of where we're at. And we'll also probably be able to tell you about a number of the schools being up and running and just adding another layer of security, something that we can pull out and very easily do and take care of at every one of our school sites and not wait until it happens.
And that was something Holly was kind enough to visit our PTA board meeting last month, and that was one of the things that we talked about is the real need for the community to be able to use those fields on the weekends, and that is when we've struggled with some of the, vandalism or trash or whatever it might be. So I think the cameras are going to be really nice because we really value being able to use those fields after hours, and we would hate for them to have to be locked. So I'm sure they'll serve many purposes, but I think it hopefully will help with some of that as well.
One question, are all the schools on solar, or are there thoughts for solar panels?
It's something that we did a solar assessment and looking at the fact that many of our schools may need some attention to roofs to put in the solar. We decided to do it as part of the modernization process. So Pacific Sky has solar active now, and then that's the only one at this point because it's the only one that we've actually completed. We'll be looking at whether we can include that in Del Mar Hills, and then as we roll them through each of our modernizations, we have analysis in what we would put and where we put that on the roofing system.
Any other questions for Chris? If not, we will go to the financials and I'll turn it over to Mark.
Thanks. So on page 20, we have the beginning of our financial statements, and we have the encumbrances and expenditures from inception through November 30th on page 20. And starting on page 21 with the charts. So on page 21, at the last meeting, it was requested to bring a little more budget information, so we added the budget column, column B. And then column C is our actual encumbrances or purchase orders that are outstanding against the project. Column D is our actual expenditures that we paid against the project. And then column E is what's remaining out of those purchase orders. And so the first one we'll see Ashley Falls. We have a few projects that are still in progress. The work that we did over the summer, even though it's complete, some of the items may have been damaged, or we might have been waiting on a few small pieces, and so we can fully pay the invoices. So some of the ones that have larger encumbrance balances that were part of summer projects, that's probably why there's still a balance. So we can see our major projects. So Del Mar Heights, we're still at the 66.3 million. Del Mar Hills, the 19.9 million. Highlight a few. Pacific Sky is still at the 24.3 million. One of the ones, Stage Canyon, you can see on the second row that there's still the encumbrance balance of 73 million. So that's probably one that we still had some punch list items for the furniture, maybe was damaged that we were asking them to return the fixed items.
I had a question on Sage, because I know there's been some challenges at Sage. Is that MM trying to fix the HVAC? I don't know exactly, but is that MM or different? Okay.
So some of those, Mark, well, go ahead.
So we do have a wide variety of sources, but up until now, it's been coming from our restricted maintenance, trying to save measuring them because, we know that we've kind of been over, the costs have gone over on Del Mar Heights, so we're trying to, not push as much over there. And so we're in the process of getting an assessment right now, and if it's a more deeper project, then we'll be putting it to measuring them.
Okay, so as of right now, no, but
Right.
as the analysis continues to come in on what might be needed to fix it, then
Right.
possibly, yes.
We'll have to see how deep of a modernization it requires
Okay.
for that building.
And when are you expecting some of the results of the various tests, and do we know what that timing looks like?
We're getting close to having a final report from the people who are
Okay.
assessing it, so we'll have a pretty good idea. There likely will be a need to do some more substantial work on that building, and that then would come back to measuring it, because it would also be work that would have, will take care of some of the modernization things with roofing and stuff.
Yeah, you might have to just swap and
So,
say, all right,
right,
we need to
takes
do
care of
this
it earlier.
now
Yeah,
versus later.
exactly.
Okay, so in total on page 23, we have commitments of about 120 million. So that leaves us with about just under 66 million in our measuring for our project. And then on page 21, we have the start of our actual expenditures for the quarter, so from September 1st through November 30th.
Mark, great page.
24? What?
25.
Mine says 24. Oh, okay, yeah, 25. Sorry, the 24 was the cover page.
Mark, I just want to ask, there's such a huge variation between the server areas, and that's just because of what you have to work with in that area.
We kind of base the size of the server based on how many lunches they serve and kind of the area that we did the assessment for. And so, you know, we worked with the principal, we worked with the designer of which area in the school was, you know, the best to fit that servery, and then we had to work within that. So I think on one of them, you know, Sycamore Ridge, there was an area where there was an overhang, and so we had to put it like under the overhang. Some have its own overhang, so there's definitely a difference in the serveries.
But the goal is that they'll all be the same level of service, I guess. is
Yes.
the term.
Right.
Thank you.
So on page 25, we can see Delmar Heights, even though the project has been delayed or stalled, there still are some costs going about Brady. Part of it, we were able to move forward with the repair to the reserve to prevent additional damage to the reserve. And then just some other minor costs related to the construction there. Delmar Heights, really the architect fees and a little bit of legal fees. And then the rest of it really is the furniture and equipment that came in over the summer at all the schools from the modernization of the learning environments. And then also the playground improvements that were also a summer project at the schools. So all in all, for this quarter, we have about 4.7 million in expenditures from measuring.
Thank you, Mark. Any other questions for Mark?
And then just one small note under modern learning environments on the last page, on page 28 on the back. These were just a couple of purchase orders that we coded to district-wide, because when we bid out the project, you know, in all the classrooms, we might be doing painting and redoing the floor, and it's easier for us to initially put it district-wide, so we'll be moving those expenditures back to the school sites after.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Mark. Item G, a topic near and dear to my heart, discussion of possible action on Citizens Oversight Committee election of officers. And I think Sandeep might want to try and take my job, which I will cheerfully relinquish.
I got tired of your question at the start of the board meeting. You've done a great job, and I would be willing to advance my name.
All right, well, we have a quorum here, so is there a motion to make Sandeep the chair of the committee? I have a motion. So Ira, is there a second? There's a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so it's 402 with 2 absent. Sandeep, do you want to take over at the next meeting, or you want to take over now?
No, you deserve to finish.
Okay, thank you. So our next item is our next COC meeting, which would probably be the first couple of weeks of March of 2023.
There's a spring break there too.
Yeah, we would probably want to avoid that because people will be on vacation. Is there anybody want to toss out a particular date? And I'll ask
Spring break
Chris.
the 13th or the 20th, I don't have it yet on the calendar.
That's in April,
Oh,
actually.
it's April, never mind.
Yeah.
Okay. And Chris, would there be a school where the committee could meet to look at any bond measure projects, or should we go back to the district office?
Know that we have, unless the committee has an, I can't think of another.
Any playgrounds that'll be updated by then, because by then we'll have a little more sun. Yeah.
We could go to one of the sites that was updated last summer, so we could go to Colonel Lamar or Ashley Falls.
Whichever.
Which one would be better, probably from a walking standpoint, Chris?
Go to Ashley Falls.
Ashley Falls, okay, so our next meeting will be at Ashley Falls. Does anybody have a date, first couple of weeks of March? I don't have a calendar.
Tuesday, the 7th or 14th.
Okay, so what about,
It's conference week, the week of the 6th. I don't know if that makes any difference for staffing.
does that make any difference to staff? Or-
Are
there any Mondays or Thursdays that would work? Tuesdays, I can't guarantee you that time.
What about, let's see, March 6th?
The sixth?
Yeah, I think the 6th, is that the conference?
It is a conference week.
Yeah, you guys want to do the 13th or the 20th or the 27th?
So what about March 13th? Would that work?
Can I suggest not the 13th, because we have second interim, which is a big budget item that is the 15th, the board meeting the 15th.
The sixth is fine, and the conference week's fine, I just didn't know if there was any.
Oh, okay, so why don't we do March 6th?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
6th.
I think the 6th will work.
Oh.
Does anybody have a problem with the 6th?
The only thing about the sixth is expenditures will only go through January, because, you know, we would have to close out
Right,
February, like,
too fast.
Yeah, but we have to have the meeting before the end of March because the committee has to receive the audit report before the end of March.
The 20th.
We can do, would the 20th work for people? March 20th? Would you be done by then, Mark? Okay, so now we have March 20th, 5 o'clock, does that time work?
Yes.
Okay, so our next meeting will be March 20th, that's a Monday, at Ashley Fall Schools at 5 p.m. Gary gets to see how this is all negotiated.
Very interesting.
And this is how it is all the time. People get their calendars out and look, and kind of have to pin the tail on the date. All right, so that's our meeting schedules, item H. Any comments from the committee members, item I? Anything you'd like to see agendized? Are you generally happy with how the meetings are going? Recognizing that Sandy is now the chairperson. I'm going to, unless the committee would like otherwise, I'm going to plan to continue to attend these meetings unless you folks tell me you don't want me here, because I'm available to answer legal questions.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Any other comments from committee members?
Well, I guess the only question is the vice president role right now that's vacant, and so whether one agenda.
You know, I think maybe what we do is we keep item G on the agenda. That'll give all the committee well, because we have two members who aren't here tonight, so they need to be informed that you're now in charge. And that way people can think about, gee, we have an empty VP position, does anybody want to fill it? You don't have to fill it, but it's a good idea in case you can't, for whatever reason, come to a meeting.
And it would be okay if the district communicated to two folks who weren't able to make it?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. It's just, that's one-way information, and it's less than a quorum. It's just informing them of the actions that have been taken.
We do have one vacant, do we need to fill that?
I think that's probably going to
Yes,
solve
so
itself.
We'll look at, Marina accepted, or really did sort of a favor in supporting Delmar Heights, who, Carrie was Delmar Heights office, admin assistant, and she came to work at the district, and so they had an opening. And so Marina is filling in and then an employee of the district, but it's a short-term position. So she cannot be a member of the COC while she is.
She had to
working for the district.
essentially resign from the committee, but as soon as that temporary position is done, she can be reappointed to the committee.
Got it.
And so if she were to decide that she wanted to.
There was an interesting
stay
discussion
employed,
between Chris and myself in terms of how that would work.
But Marina has made it pretty clear that she does not intend to stay working. This is really sort of a short-term thing.
Okay,
So we expect to see her back in the saddle, come the March meeting.
okay, great.
Pending board.
And we will also have, at the March meeting, we will have two other items. One is the receipt of the annual auditor's reports by the committee members, and also the approval, drafting, et cetera, of the annual COC report to the board. So those are, our March added items. Any other comments from the committee members, staff, et cetera? Hearing none, then we're adjourned. What time is it? 5:55. 5:55. We're adjourned at 5:55. Thank you all for
Thank you,
coming.
everyone.